Hey everybody, this is Jason Tracy from Roar Consulting, an entrepreneur coach and host of Coffee and Grit, a #1 podcast on entrepreneurship. And one of my big platforms is helping entrepreneurs really pursue their purpose, their dream, and become the difference and dominate their space. And one of the things that have become a big difference in my business is a personal referral networking group that I joined way back in May of 2021 called SiriusNet. And this has really made, like I said, a big difference in my business. It's made up a major part of like the referrals and how I've earned my business, but it's also put a big platform on how I've become the difference within my community. Within this time, I've built a really awesome relationship, friendship, partnership with Steve Ziskowski, the founder of SiriusNet. And as we were sitting and discussing, we found, we can really help real estate agents dominate their market and really build a platform to be the difference in their market. And so if that's something that interests you, just down here below, put in your information. And what we're going to do is send you a quick video on just how that, on what our process is and what that will look like. And you'll have some detailed information on there on what to do to take the next steps. What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracy, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit. And I'm excited to have my friend Michelle Carley in the studio today. She's with the company Big E-Z Bookkeeping. I was able to meet Michelle at the SiriusNet breakfast back this last July, and she came with my friend and new partner, Denise Roberts. And then I was able, we met up and we actually scheduled for Michelle to be on this show because it's important coming from all assets as I have people come on and share their story. One, because stories are data with soul. That story, that entrepreneur, and I know Michelle's like, I've been around for a while, so we've got years of story to tell. But the other thing is what kind of the different kinds of businesses that are out there that support entrepreneurs like you, and that's exactly what Michelle does. She has a product and a service that does support entrepreneurs like you. And it's the thing that, honestly, we all start a business because we have a purpose, a passion, an expertise. And what I found is a couple things that people, when they start their business, that they don't really like doing. Sales being one of them, and that's where I come in. And the second thing is the finances, the books, the numbers, and that's where Michelle and her service comes in. So super excited to talk about that and share that resource while also, again, diving into Michelle's story. So Michelle, welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. Yeah.
Oh,
it's
my
a great
pleasure.
Opportunity. Yeah.
My pleasure. Like I said, it was awesome because we scheduled this and then you got in the boot camp. And so I got to learn more about you as you were showing up and talking about things. So
right. Boot camp was really great. I've got a couple more sessions to finish out. So,
yes.
Yeah. That'll be good.
Today's Monday, so we had boot camp this morning, and
how'd that go?
It's really good. We have a guy in there that's just really like he's getting it, and it's so cool to see the progress. Because I talk about I started my business because sales. I see sales as being it's so easy. We make it so hard. We make it so hard with all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
The emotions and the fear and the limiting beliefs and all the things that tie into that. We make it so hard. But if we go out there authentically in the place of what are we doing to serve people? What's going on in people's lives, and what's their goals? What could we, and how do we serve them to make their lives easier?
Yeah. And one thing I noticed when I was in boot camp, a few weeks ago, I'm not digging deep enough when I talk to people about like what they're faced with, what their issues are with their business finances. So I'm finding out I'm not going deep enough, so I don't ever get to a point of rejection so much because I'm kind of all fluffy, So so I just realized that. So
and this, so glad you made that realization because that's the big thing that I see in boot camp is people seeing that they're not. It's that thing that stops them from pushing. And going that extra layer, we ask a couple surface level questions and have a little understanding of the person. But how I look at sales is how can we truly serve somebody if we don't know anything about them?
Right.
We have some great people that they do their products or services. They make a big difference. We have some chamber folks that, chambers do a great job of serving their members. However, if you don't know what it is that they're doing in their business. Like, what is their
Right.
goal? Do they want to add? Do they want to
Right.
grow? What is when is their availability? What is it? What do they like
Yeah.
to do? If you don't know all that stuff, how can you really serve them?
Right. I'm assuming things, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Well, and then I'm sure with you, with numbers and everything else, there's some emotion that's there, some vulnerability
You mean for
for your client.
from the client? Oh yeah. Well, a lot of them, I think, believe it or not, I think they're a bit embarrassed to say that they don't know their numbers, that they don't have a handle on it, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
And I don't, I guess I can understand that, but they do have to dig deep into their numbers to really get to know them too. So it's a big leap of faith, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
To start a new system or something. Yeah.
Just a new system, but even thinking about, when you're talking to a potential client or somebody that that you can help, it's one of those things as you're diving in and asking questions, they're vulnerable, or they feel maybe stupid, or
Right.
so if they shut down the conversation because they don't want to go any deeper, and so it's coming from that place of serving and being, and being able to help, that you can get them open.
Yeah, I need a new mindset when I talk to people. More, digging deep and trying to find out where they're at and what they've been using, and how's it going, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
So I can show them that that I can help. Instead, I usually jump to, here, this is what I have. Well, I haven't uncovered the problem yet. So
Yes.
Yeah.
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 We're so ready to solve and
I
give
know,
a solution.
right? Well,
Yeah.
here, take this. But they need to see it first, that it'll work for them, or why bother? Yeah.
I'm glad you made that realization. I'm
Yeah.
excited for you to come back to boot camp and put that into practice.
Yes, absolutely.
So what got you started with Big E-Z Bookkeeping, and how'd that all start?
Well, okay. So going way back into high school, I couldn't read very well. So I struggled. I struggled with writing and reading, and then, but I was really good with numbers. So when I got out of school, I took a factory job, and I was bottling windshield solvent and then muriatic acid. And I said, wait a minute, there's probably another job I could do. I'm not sure I want to do this. So they said, there's one in the office. So that's where I got my start. I had someone train me on some bookkeeping there. It came real natural to me. So, yeah.
That is so cool. You're bottling the chemicals.
I know.
Wait a minute.
They had to put the vat outside because it was muriatic acid. You don't want to be breathing this stuff in. So, yeah, I knew there was something wrong with that picture. So, yeah.
So cool. So once you got there, was it something that was a fit right away?
Oh, yeah. So I started doing some books, and then I went on to other jobs, and I made it to be controller of 2 separate companies, but I didn't have a degree, because how do you go to college when you can't read very well,
Yeah.
So so that's when I opened my bookkeeping service, so some 30-some years ago. But so and then I started to realize that a lot of people struggled with their bookkeeping, little businesses. So I came out with a paper bookkeeping system. Actually, I brought an old copy of it here, but I had one of the lady from 2 Men in a Truck. She used it for a couple of years. She said it was a godsend, and she went on to be an international. You got to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. So she's an international business owner, franchise owner now.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I'll say everybody, I think at this point listening, has heard of the company 2 Men in a Truck. It's a nationally known company, internationally known company.
Right.
That's so cool. So how long ago was that?
Well, that was 30 some years ago. Yeah.
How'd you meet?
How did I meet
her? 2 Men.
Well, she bought the book.
Yeah.
Used it for a couple of years. So see, a lot of people were using the system, and that's how I've helped people. It was sold in Barnes and Noble and Borders, and So
let's unpack that. How did you get that? How did you build that up?
Well, that was not easy.
Because you go from a bookkeeping company into creating
a bookkeeping service, But then I thought, I'm going to put it into a book. I did a lot of work with the small business development centers too, and so I got an idea that people were struggling with just reconciling their checkbook, with figuring up their profits. So yeah, I just thought I'm going to make this be like a paint by number system. So no debits and credits. You don't need to know accounting. You can just, follow the plus and the minus signs, and you could figure out your profits. So that's the paper system. I had to hire someone to do all the writing of the instructions because I wasn't very good at writing. So, but the numbers part, I was trying to get this in the hands of people that could use it, so. But then, technology comes along and, so Excel is the next step for me. I put it into Excel so people didn't have to, add up by hand and calculators and stuff like that. So, and then now, fast forward to now, and it's a Google Sheet, Big E-Z Accounting for Google Sheets. So,
isn't it cool how technology kind of evolves?
Yeah. But it's difficult because you got to hire programmers. So, there's a lot of costs. So, yeah. But, it's 10 times better than the desktop Excel version that we had. So, yeah, we're moving along.
So going back into that history, how did you then, get it into Barnes and Nobles and the Borders? And
oh, gosh. Yeah, well, I would just, I'd call them up and say, I've got this bookkeeping system, and they said, okay, bring it by, and I'd show it to them, and they say, okay, we'll take, so many of them, 20, 30, whatever. Yeah. Gail's Office Supply down in Detroit, they used to buy a lot of them, so.
That's just so cool. You're like, and for everybody listening, you're just like, yeah, I just did this. I just called them, and
Yeah, well, I called them, and they wanted it. They saw the need, and they had me come out and show it to them, and they, then they bought it. Yeah, so.
That's just awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So at what point did you then start merging it into the Google Sheet?
The Excel.
Yeah, or Excel.
Well, first I went into Excel. With the help of a programmer, that was probably 15 years ago, maybe longer. And then the Google Sheet version is just came out just before COVID. And I had a programmer that is what was he? A space engineer that retired, and he wanted to take up Google Sheet programming, and he took on my job, and so he put it into a Google Sheet. So, yeah.
So who do you work with?
At any given time, I probably have 6 to 8 contractors working with me. A tech writer, a programmer, assistant, marketing people, salespeople. I just have a lot of little part-timers, that are helping pull this together. Yeah.
So your client base, it's probably startup companies that.
A lot of startups, a lot of small businesses. They're all over the board, though. I mean, there's some that are not in business, like Boy Scouts. The Boy Scout treasurer, she's using it for her books out there in California. So it's all over the country. People are using it. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And what's nice is, I've had like the paper system is fading away because, people are catching on to the other electronic one. But you'd be surprised. There's still some people that love to do it on paper. So they order this every year. But there's some people that order the desktop license every year. So they've been using it for 14, 15 years, So,
wow.
Yeah, some clients have done that. Yeah, so.
In retrospect, like when you first kind of created this, did you envision like here you are 30 years later, 20 years later, and people are using this all over the world?
Yeah, I feel like it's like a secret, it's not out there. It's QuickBooks is out there. I really haven't had the time or money or effort, to put into marketing till this last year or two. So I'm hoping to really get the word out now, because it's costly to the programming charges, and I'm still using, the programmer to tweak this and tweak that. So yeah. So.
That's got to be a learning process all through that of like,
oh yeah,
all the things is, how often do you have to tweak that and that kind of stuff?
Well, I probably talk to the programmer probably every week. I mean, just every week for an hour or two. Yeah. We got this, or like Google will switch something and it'll tweak something we've got to tweak now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it can be started there. Yeah. So
When do you notice or realize there's an issue that needs to be tweaked?
well, a client will ask us, what's going on with this, and we'll check into it in the program. Or he'll fix something real quick, but then he'll so then we have a master copy that, so going forward, that won't be a problem for the people going forward, whatever the little issue was, So it's interesting. I mean, there's so many different little things that could go a little weird,
Yeah.
Like we just put in a new feature where you can import your data, your transactions. That's not a problem. But we have this new feature called autofill. So like if you put in 1 month's worth of records, the autofill will fill in the next months, So you don't have to you don't have to categorize everything again. You just say autofill, and it's going to pick up what you did last month and say, is this what you want to, submit? So anyways, what we found was that I think it was something about the characters, the amount of characters that the autofill was picking up. Too many, or too little. I can't remember which it was, but it was throwing that feature off a little bit. So the programmer, he's very quick about fixing things. So, we got that fixed, and the client was fine with it. So
that's awesome how quickly you can get something fixed and back and get that feedback even.
Right. Yeah. So.
Tell me this. You've got to have a ton of them. Tell me about a story of a favorite client you have.
Well, I've got some clients that, like I said, have been purchasing that license from the desktop. But I just had a client recently. It's a Boy Scout treasure that I mentioned earlier, in California. And I like the way she had to dig deeper into like the instructions. I mean, she got most of it, but you really have to get it. And once you understand how to use it for your business, it's like a light goes off in your head. Like, okay, I got it now. And now she's fine. You never hear from, once people get to a certain point and they really get it, there's no support after that. They know what they're doing and they're all set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's kind of you're teaching a person to fish as opposed to standing there and fishing for them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping, this is do-it-yourself accounting.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that this will help a lot of small businesses so that they don't have to hire an accountant to keep their books, and with a shortage of accountants that's been going on for years, I think the prices are going to go up, and so people are going to pay more. And if they can do it themselves, especially the startups, the real small businesses that are just getting going, they'll buy a system that's too big for them. Then they need someone to work it because they don't understand it. And so, that's where I'm hoping this fits in, so.
Well, it's so confusing starting out. Most people don't know all the bookkeeping and, all that kind of stuff. So it's so empowering to have this system to help plug in.
Well, this system, though, we really don't mention debits or credits. We try not to put any accounting terms in there. But when you distill this system down to what you really need to do in this system, it's really just categorizing your transactions. So if you know how to categorize transactions, or you can be taught that, but that's the major part of this system. And once you have everything categorized, the system is really doing everything for you. It's giving you all the reports that you need, and it gives you a good cash flow statement so you can see where your money is going, and how much came in and what months it came in. So you can try to plan your cash flow. There's some seasonal businesses that you have to have a really good handle on your cash management, so.
Yeah, you make all your money in the summer, for example.
Yeah.
If you're a snowplow company, all your money in the winter.
Right. But you have expenses throughout. If you're going to continue on, you need to really try to budget then and reserve. And there's it's an art to doing the cash management, if you ask me.
Yeah.
There really is an art to it. And if you can't get that, a lot of businesses go out of business because of the cash flow, I remember decades ago hearing, 50% of all businesses go out of business within the first 5 years because of cash management, cash flow. So and now it's 70%. So we are heading in the wrong direction here.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was 50, now it's 70. That's 3 decades ago, so yeah.
It's insane. And so I that was one of the things looking at and why I was so passionate to start my business. Because again, looking at it, like you need to keep, take good care of your money and know your numbers and all that good stuff. You also have to make money. And between those two things, it's where I really saw a lot of businesses struggling is pulling the money and selling. And then once they're selling, making sure that they're making the best investments and, their money's not just going to a gaping hole.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember this one company I worked for, they were not managing their money properly. What they did was they were paying employees and not submitting the money that was withheld for payroll taxes. So the government wasn't getting that money. And then they're giving W-2s out. Now, the W-2 goes to the employee gets a refund. The government never got money. That's not a good picture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The IRS will come down hard on someone like that. They actually padlocked their business. They put a padlock on the door, shut them straight down. I never heard from them after that, but I showed up and saw it right there. I went to go help them with their books that day and was like, you have a lock on your door. Do you know that?
And they're like, yep. No.
Yeah, we've been locked out. Yeah. I was really surprised. This was many years ago. But, yeah. But that's a mismanagement problem. So they're withholding money, but they spent it on something else. Okay, they withheld those payroll taxes, but they didn't pay them. They spent it somewhere else. So that's a problem. Yeah. You could see that picture, right?
Oh my God, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And thinking about even the employees going to work and they're locked out. And
Yeah. No, it kind of puts a real damper on things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some ignorance there. There's some.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah.
But, you don't mess with the IRS, right? Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. They will crack down on you.
Yeah.
So it's got to be awesome to be able to help people avoid those pitfalls.
Yeah, well, they can if they know their numbers and if they really, and the only way to really know your numbers is to do it yourself for a while, at least in the beginning. Just get started, with a system that's easy enough. And, we feel our system is so easy. I mean, it's hard to call it do-it-yourself accounting without it being easy. Because, right? Most products that are do-it-yourself are simple, or else you can't really call it that, right?
Yep.
Yep. Or shouldn't be.
Because so there are companies that will create a DIY option with the intent that you can do this, like a small percentage of people that can actually do this. The rest of them will pay for our upgraded service for us to do it for them.
Oh.
That's not you, though. Here's my service. It's not a trick. It's we want it to be easy enough for you to be able to use because we want you to use this.
Well, we do have, so we do have it where you can just buy the the subscription. It's a yearly subscription, and it's $249. So it's pretty reasonable.
Yep.
And it comes with our support and stuff. But you can do it that way, or we can help you with the first month or the first 2 months, I mean. So either you could take a package where you can have one whole month, so we can really set up your beginning numbers, and then we can help you get all your transactions entered, categorized, reconciled, and look at your reports and train you on it, so that you know what to do next month. And I mean, some people might need 2 months, but
Yep.
So it depends. I mean, we're hoping that it's just plain do it yourself, but there's some that want that little extra boost. So a month or two of help,
Oh, it's going to be incredibly helpful. And I think that I'd want somebody to help me with that, at least that 1 month to really
It's probably a good idea to get the 1 month. Yeah, because your beginning balance could be a little tricky with outstanding checks and stuff. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that can be a little tricky, but yeah, after
Well,
that.
you see people when they first start, they're kind of a mess.
Yeah, well, I've seen all kinds of stuff. So I've seen all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine. It gets pretty wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, what I found, like back when I was doing bookkeeping for different businesses, before I opened my bookkeeping service, I remember doing QuickBooks for a lot of businesses. And I would say 1 out of every 10 businesses that I helped with their QuickBooks, only 1 out of 10 really had the QuickBooks started correctly and without errors and everything. Everybody else, it was like I'd walk into a company and have to clean up their QuickBooks. So I meant to look for like a statistic on that, is it a $5 billion industry of cleaning up, your QuickBooks? But I think it's big. Like I said, I've only run into 1 company out of like 10 that had their QuickBooks set up properly, and it was a breeze to use. But a lot of them are not like that. So,
Yeah.
people, I think, try to set it up on their own, and they run into troubles, and then, it'll do some parts right for you, like print checks and this and that, but your numbers aren't right. So,
Well, it's huge. And I love, again, that first conversation I had with you, I'm like, I want to have you on because I think this is something that's so huge for somebody, again, starting out, they want to do it on their own. And I love the point that you made that you recommend that people do it on their own at the beginning to learn their numbers, because I think the reverse effect is you hire somebody, which is great. We get taught to, as we grow, hire and, pass it off and not do all the things, but then you don't know your numbers.
no.
You're not in tune.
And if you don't know your numbers, that's where I think fraud can come in. You could have someone in your office that's doing something wrong. So if you know your numbers, you're going to see something. It's going to be a red flag. Like, why is that expense account or category so high this month?
Yes.
You could spot problems if you know your numbers, so.
I would think that every entrepreneur has got needs to be in that position to know their numbers, to have that education, to work in that system enough to, again, be able to look at the sheet. As you hire employees, you always want to make sure that you have a checks and balances. And if you don't know what you're looking at, it's going to be so easy. You might have an employee going rogue on you for a couple of years and you don't even know.
Right. Well, I worked for a company once that this happens. I mean, there's fraud here and there. And I worked for a company early on, and I was doing their bookkeeping. I was hired in by this other bookkeeper that I knew. And so I was only there 2 weeks, and they fired the head bookkeeper. And I'm like, what happened? And they said, well, she didn't reconcile the payroll account, and someone was changing the numbers on their payroll checks. This is many years ago, but so the fraud does happen, so yeah.
Well, and this is the thing, like, if you're just new in entrepreneurship and, maybe you haven't got burned yet, but I've I've been in situations where I've been in like I was a sales director for a company before I started my own business, and the owner of our company was just she is an amazing person. She's somebody that would like take her shirt off her back and help somebody. If somebody came to her and said, I'm struggling, she would give them money, right? She'd give them money, and then she'd sit down with them and help them create a financial plan and all this other kind of, like, she was just a very giving person. Yet we'd have people that stole from us. We'd have people that take money out of the cash register, and like they might replace it, but they're just taking some money out, and then, eventually they took too much, and then they couldn't, now they're stuck and they can't pay it back, or they didn't get the money back in time. Or you see people that like justify, I have a company credit card, I'm going to, get food or whatever, and nobody will notice. And in some companies, you don't. Yeah. And so I think that, again, it's very important to have an understanding of what your numbers look like, because it can be you have no idea. Even I guess some of these people that have done this, like the thing that hurts the most when you're in business is like, God, they seem like such a good person, And I don't think that necessarily they're even a bad person. Somehow they justified how this is okay.
Yeah. I remember, I'm thinking back of this one guy that I was doing his books for him, and I was thinking, wow, is he spending a ton of money eating out? And I'm thinking he can't possibly be meeting with clients all that time, but he's writing it off. And it was a ton of money, And so, I wonder if he ever got in trouble with that. But, I no longer do his books. So. Well,
not your problem anymore.
Well, no, it's not my problem anymore. So we'll see. But I think the government probably has, there's ways to look at your ratios, like compare your numbers. Like if you have a certain kind of a business, compare your numbers to like the average. If you're like, I don't know, a landscaper, maybe, there's probably a certain percentage that would be for, maybe car and truck expenses. And if you're like 5 times more than the average, it could be a red flag. I don't know how they do that kind of audit stuff. But I mean, I've been involved in one audit years ago for Napa Auto Parts when I worked there as a bookkeeper. And the audit, this is interesting, but I didn't know how they did it, but it was back then, it was like they wanted to see the records. They want to see every line item. They wanted proof that whatever you were writing out this expense for, that you really paid for it. You have a receipt, So, and they would take every like 12th item on like a page of 30, they'd go and have me go and pull the check copy, the receipt, and we had a clean set of books, so it was not a problem. There was an auditor that came from, I don't know, another state, and he had to stay out for like a week. And, they spent a lot of money to put this auditor there to check our books. And I think they gave us a bill for $100 because of maybe something we allocated wrong or something. But so they didn't make any money off of us, is what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah.
But the audit was interesting. They wanted backup. They want proof. They put the burden on the business owner for the proof, that these are expenses,
Yeah.
Because if they're not expenses, now they're income, you see. You know what I mean? It flips from you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's not like you're deducting from your income now. Now you're adding it back into your income if they you know what I mean? If they say, you don't have any backup, so
now it goes in, it's income, and it changes your whole entire...
Yeah, and then there's penalties and this, and it swings things the wrong way. So you want to justify, you want to make sure you have receipts for your expenses, And people think that your bank statement or your credit card statement is good enough for backup. No, you really need the receipts, So I know a lot of people don't bother getting receipts anymore. And I'm like, you should keep your receipts, just in case you're audited. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it costs. And it's a big headache, So.
And I couldn't imagine if they're not organized, like you have receipts everywhere.
Yeah, right. Well, I came out with this receipt book many years ago. Well, it's just a little, and I want you to have this in case you would like.
I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just got 12 envelopes in there that you just every month just stick your little receipts in there. At least it's somewhere. It's organized. You know, it's in a container of some sort. You know, instead of a shoebox or whatever. But yeah.
Well, it's organized and it's for that.
Yeah, and it's for each year. Like you could put in, a year on here, 25, and just start sticking all your little gas receipts and all your little restaurant receipts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to mark who you had, lunch with or whatever on your receipts and the purpose, just so you have good records, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh,
again,
thanks.
it's again thinking about the systems and structures, and this is so awesome for people. Starting my business, it was like trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I love about this show is meeting people, finding the resources, and then giving those resources back to other people. Because I know starting my business, I went through it, and I know others are going through it too, of trying to figure out all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to it, but for the bookkeeping, I think if people will just take that little leap of faith that they can do their own books, it's really a good thing. And, for us, we just came out with this new thing where our clients can come on to a Zoom call all at the same time, keeping up their records at the same time, updating them. And there's a bookkeeper expert right there in case they run into trouble,
So awesome.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So everyone's just doing their own thing, but then they can go into a side chat and say, hey, I just don't know what to do about, So there's a little guidance, a little help.
That's cool. So a support group, like kind of office
support.
Hours.
Like in office hours, yeah. We're
That's
just starting
awesome.
that, yeah.
I love your creativity. I love.
Thanks.
I didn't know anything about this stuff and Barnes and Noble and all that. This is really cool stuff.
Thanks.
And again, your system of like putting it out there, creating the process, and giving the tools and resources to entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Well, I've always been efficiency minded. I mean, even like my email address, it's MC, my initials, at BigEZ.com. I mean, it's quick, it's easy. You know how many times I've had to put that in?
Oh my God, yeah.
Over the years?
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
The time. Right. So it's quick.
MC at Big E-Z. It is very easy.
It is easy. Yeah. So, yeah.
That is awesome. Just again, so, you're talking about like being younger and not being able to read or write well, but then like your mind thinks in these other ways that creates efficiencies, or you're really good with the numbers.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure of the connection between that, but I just struggled with reading and writing. It was bad. I mean, the teacher would ask for a book report, and I would just read the front cover, the back cover, and the first page, the last page, and I'd write a quick little 2-paragraph book. Pretty bad, huh?
There's a boy named Tom. And then Tom dies.
Right. It was a short story. Right? Yeah. Anyways.
So is that something that as you've gotten older, has that gotten better for you, or?
The reading and of course it's gotten a lot better. But you know what? I've noticed, I never knew this because I think I was dyslexic, but never diagnosed.
Yep.
Okay. So, but like I'll be in church and I'll be singing and the words will jump on it. I will sing the wrong word. I'll flip. It's like words flip on me. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I'll be reading them, but all of a sudden that word was in front of, so it's weird. But anyways,
yeah, it's interesting. Like, and so I don't know, you see now there's a lot more like testing and people get kind of diagnosed and get their own education plans and, structured and stuff like that. And back then, back even when I was in school, we didn't, there wasn't as much of that. And then even there's so much on education from the educators on how to educate somebody that was having a problem. There's like the one size fits all. And I think we're still there to that degree, but
Well, I was in a remedial class. I remember that in high school. I saw a picture of me and like about 18 guys. It was I was the only girl in the group, I think. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? Yeah. Pretty bad, huh?
That's funny.
Oh, well. I guess more girls read better than me. But anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but then you look at the math, and I think you look at more guys are good at math. I think it kind of flips on the other side.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So
I'd be willing to bet that. I think that.
yeah, I think
anyways.
so too. I think I've heard some statistics like that.
So I love this. We put it up from the cranes. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, I was new in business, and it was like, I want to be a businesswoman, so I've got my books and I'm trying to sell them. And I kept a diary, and it just shows a lot of the frustration I was going through back then, So, but funny thing is I still have frustrations.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to go away totally. I mean, it's like you just get comfortable with it. There's one thing I don't do is I don't quit. So I am just persevering through this, and it's been a long, long haul. So I've had my ups and downs, like it says, peaks and valleys, live on. Yeah. Well, I've made my mistakes, I'll tell you one thing. Probably shouldn't mention this, but I was supposed to go on an Oprah show. Yeah. But my husband and I, at the time, I'm divorced now, but we were going to Mexico when she said, oh, come on, I want you to come on the show and show this book. She was having a bunch of women entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my husband said, well, if she wants to fly you from Mexico out to Chicago and back, go ahead. And I'm like, oh. So I asked them. They said, no, we're not doing it. So I lost my opportunity, which isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
I know. Anyways, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so. It's an awesome opportunity, though. And
It was a great opportunity. I don't know what would have come of it, but I would think something good because, my books were already being sold in the local stores in Detroit. But yeah, so. Oh, well,
So
you make
interesting.
mistakes. I should
Absolutely.
I should not have said that. I should have said, sure, I'll be there.
with bells on.
Right? So.
It's so interesting because there's nothing you can do about that.
Nothing you can do about it.
And that's like one of my. I love this, and it's so funny. We put this up, and I didn't even read the article, read this until you started talking about the diary, and I was like, I didn't know what this article was about, and so I love this because this is what the show is all about. It's those peaks and valleys because as entrepreneurs, we have them. I'm
still sticking with it. I'm getting it out there, trying to help as many as I can, and I probably helped over 1,000. Probably a couple thousand small business owners to keep their books, at least in the startup phase or beginning. So, yeah. So
cool.
Oh, thanks.
What's been some of the biggest obstacles you had?
Oh, gosh. Marketing has been a big problem. Getting the word out. Right now, I feel there's a lot of opportunities going on. We are now an approved vendor with Ann Arbor Spark. So we're on their list where they're like approving us for helping set up small businesses, small startups. And so that's very encouraging. And I'm doing more webinars and trying to, show people different features of, like we have a free invoicing tool that's coming up. The webinar's coming up next week, I think. The third Wednesday of every month we do a webinar. So, they just show people how to, keep their invoices and why. And, that's a big thing is trying to find a way to let people know that it's important to keep their books. Some people do not bother. I mean, they really are, as long as they have money in the checking account, they're good. Mm-hmm. But what they're missing is like if they want to go for a loan, they have no records. If they want to sell their business down the road, what value is it? They have no records, So they have to really, really bite the bullet kind of thing and get started and get a track record, get a few years experience with it, and start doing budgets, and they'd be really better off. So.
Can you send me the webinar link to where we could put it in the show notes?
Yeah, sure.
Because that'd be important. I think as entrepreneurs are listening, and I know to me, it's like if you're listening and your eyes are getting wide, as we're talking about the payroll taxes and some of the the other things, the keeping receipts and expenses, the stuff you were just talking about. If you're sitting there like, oh crap, or click on that link. Get on the webinar the third Wednesday of every month. You can get on, learn more about the system, about what Michelle's doing, and seeing if it's a good fit for you.
Yeah. We have one on cash flow and cash management. We have different ones. But if anyone wants to try out the software, there's a 14-day free trial. And if they mention your show, I could give them a free receipt book if they'd like,
Awesome.
So
when they sign up, is there a box for them to put?
It's, yes, how they heard about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you go there, put in coffee and grit.
Yep.
Let her know.
Yeah. And I can get a free receipt book out to them.
This would be huge because it's over the years, like coming up with new ways to store my receipts in one place.
How are you storing them?
I have a shoebox, so you put them in and then you sort them out, and it's like, and again, so it's like that vulnerability of like, man, this could really be helpful,
Oh yeah. It's a little thing, but it's a big help, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you store them every year, then you've got those receipts in case you are ever audited and stuff.
Well, that's the thing, it's so easy to store, this.
Yeah, these are just envelopes, 12 envelopes in a book, and by the time you're through, it'll be 2 or 3 inches thick, but it's just one more way to try to stay organized, organized with your records, with your receipts. I'm all about that. And just doing it in the most streamlined, efficient, way that you possibly can. So.
100%, Michelle. This has been so awesome. Thank you for coming down and being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Again, anybody listening, check out the webinar link on the third Wednesdays of the month. We'll have more information to contact Michelle. Again, I see this as being a major resource that if you're sitting here like, oh crap, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm putting my receipts in the shoebox, reach out. Let's grow those businesses and not be part of that 70% that are perishing within that first 5 years.
Right. And it's a good time right now. So the beginning of the year is coming up. It's a great time to start fresh and start new. Yeah. Perfect timing, right? Yeah. I know we talked about that, you coming on right now. It's a perfect timing as we're preparing for that new year. Exactly. Michelle, thanks again for coming on. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.